Mark
you
those
already
emails.
space hard
Chris.
that. We're not back. We're totally not back.
Marco's
emails from Idle Thumbs.
Your host,
Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio. With our host, Marco, not Marco Rubio, but we record it in the Emeryville Rubios. It's March 30th, 2016.
This is Idle Thumbs 256. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin. Chris, I saw you savor that Power of Two
I know,
episode
I just
number.
realized. It's 2 to the 8th.
We all know, a lot of programmers in this room. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this
It's
episode.
a number. That means something.
I was like, oh, the dimensions of this
to a
episode will
computer.
compress down into a nice DXT texture.
Wow, I don't even... That's too deep a pull for me.
Yeah, that's...
What? You don't have to make your textures as Power of Two squares so they render quicker on hardware?
But I don't know what yeah, I'm aware of that, but I don't know what a DXT texture is.
It's a computer game file.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to this podcast. This is being recorded 4 days in the past relative to when you're listening to it,
Don't spoil that.
because Jake is in Hawaii right now. But through the magic of
I am?
interdimensional
You are...
travel,
How's Hawaii, Jake?
we're recording it before he left. It's
Yeah.
probably good.
Yeah, it's probably all right.
I was there like 2 weeks ago and it was pretty good. It's probably
That's right.
still
You
good.
guys have both been, or
Yeah.
you went to Hawaii
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. Jake will now be going
a
to
portion
roughly
of
the
Hawaii
same.
that's like half a mile away from where
Yeah.
Jake will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that.
And I have been to that portion as well.
Yeah.
So
We're all visiting that
aren't
portion.
we cool?
I played a bunch more of that Hitman game.
I played that Hitman game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what that Hitman game is called?
That Hitman?
It might as well be. I mean, it's called... So I realized that it's called Hitman without any subtitle or number, and then it's an episodic game in which the episodes also don't have names or numbers.
Well, you know, they can get away with that because the first Hitman game was called Hitman Codename
I know.
47.
Yeah, I know.
So they were thinking
It's
ahead for the
technically-
reboot.
I
They
know, it's
knew.
technically a new
They
game,
knew
but I
that-
just mean it's like, oh, have you played
Yeah.
Hitman? Like, oh, right, the new Hitman. Like,
Yeah.
I played the new episode of the new Hitman. Like, there's no way to be any more specific. I guess you can say the name of the city,
Right.
and that would cover it. Each expansion, I guess,
so,
is going to
yeah,
be one
right.
city's
Yeah.
worth. Yeah. So anyway, last week I talked about, which is weird to say because it was only like 3 days ago, but last week I had talked about playing the 2 introductory like tutorial missions, thinking that the second one of those was the actual real mission until I finished it and realized, oh, there's another real mission. And then I played the real one, which is the one that everyone's actually talking about because I had thought the 2 tutorial missions were actually pretty full featured, and I still think they are.
Yeah.
But the Paris one, which is set in a like fashion show that is serving as a front for a sinister cabal of
For a Hitman
course.
level, man.
Yeah.
All right.
that is an amazing
It's
Hitman
gorgeous.
level, I think.
Also-
it's gorgeous and just like
But-
huge and complex, and everything's
Yeah.
interconnected in a really crazy way.
So one thing I want to mention up front, actually, we didn't really know the answer to this question on the last podcast, but as it turns out, there are a lot of options in the settings for every specific hint type mechanic.
Yeah, right.
You can set the the objective thing to like full, and then like sometimes, and then completely off.
Right. So there are those things called opportunities where
Yeah,
you can
that's what they're
overhear
called,
NPCs talking about something in the world, and then as a result of that, you will become aware of a like particular angle you can use to achieve the assassination.
Yeah.
And you can turn those off entirely and like rely just on yourself to like overhear them and figure out what you have to do, or you can have them fully turned on, in which case the game tracks them and gives you objective markers, or you can have it in the middle where the game tracks them but doesn't give you the objective markers to like walk you through it.
Right.
And that's what I'm on right now. I'm on the middle one currently.
Okay.
I might switch to off though now that I've already played through that level an entire time.
Well, there's also the instinct thing, which lets you
Right.
basically see through walls and see every person, and
Right.
highlights the specific like
Whether
the
they're
actual
important or
the
not.
actual
Yeah.
like objects and people that have
Yeah.
mechanics attached to them. And you can set that on and off, and just
Yeah.
basically everything.
Yeah.
They kind of did the Deus Ex thing, where it's
Right.
just like, all right, you can turn off the highlights if you want to. It's just going to make it harder for you. It's not going to change your like score or anything.
Right.
Which I like. I like that approach.
Yeah, I like it too, and I think I think that So I didn't play the previous Hitman game, which was, I guess, Hitman Absolution.
Yeah.
I didn't play that one, so I can't really speak to what that one was like. But I feel like if I were playing a traditionally released game where the whole thing is just a campaign and you play through it all in a row, I feel like I wouldn't like that all this stuff defaults to being super on, but I kind of don't mind it in this structure. The reason being, the expectation seems to be you are really, at least you have the option to really mine these levels out and try a bunch of stuff. And so it feels like, okay, you can progressively make this a less compromised experience.
Did you guys try, someone on the forums wrote about this, about the escalation missions inside of this?
I saw that on the forums, and I had not even realized.
This game was really weird.
Should I just read this thread?
Sure.
It's written by a user on the Idle forums called the Effin' Crow, and this is they talk about this escalations thing, and then they make an interesting point that I think you were starting to get at, Chris, about the episodic nature of this, where he says, or he or she, I don't know. Says, the game also has these missions called escalations, which are really interesting. They're structured as a set of 5 missions all on the same map. When you start the escalation, it'll give you an objective, like kill the guy with weapon B while wearing disguise C. You do it and exit. Mission over. Then it goes to the second mission, which will ask you to do the same thing, but now you have to fetch the contents of a safe. Each successive mission will add another target or another objective or more conditions. For example, the escalation on that Russian military base tutorial has you killing this one guard on level 3, and there's a fairly simple way to kill this guy via an accidental death. Then you go up to level 4, and it adds a condition that all bodies must be hidden within 90 seconds of your kill and cannot be seen, so the simple accidental death doesn't work anymore, because there's no way to hide the body after you've made him fall to his death, so you have to calculate a new plan to integrate this new win condition. And then they say, the episodic nature of the game seems so weird at first, but playing it feels somewhat natural. If you got this released like a traditional game, you'd play each of these scenarios once and move on. Releasing the game episodically like this encourages people to replay the same level and actually use all the options the level has available. I totally get this structure after playing it. Yeah, and I think that that escalations thing feels like it is them deliberately trying to incentivize you to run through and have to engage with all of the different variants of a level, or they picked a subset of them to highlight to you that there are different things that you can or have to do. That's kind of cool.
No, it's cool because a Hitman level has always been more complex than, like you said, like you basically play through it once. You would think, oh, I did the thing.
Like, I did it right. I got the end.
I did it right. I solved the puzzle, and then you move on. But probably a lot of effort goes into making each of these things feel like there are a billion options, and you may as well just allow that to be its own
give
kind
people
of
an opportunity to sort of mire
multiplayer
in it.
map almost, where it's
Hitman
just saying okay, there are a lot of different things you can do with this setup, and then we'll just make different games out of it. Yeah.
Hitman is a very, very interesting and certainly not entirely unique. I would say something like Deus Ex is basically in this zone as well, but a very unusual and I think rarely executed type of systemic game design where it's very, very high on the emergent systemic property driven gameplay side, but also really high on the bespoke interaction. Like we're scripting something that works specifically if you do this one thing with this one other thing and only with this person at this time. A lot of games have the latter, adventure games and more narrative-oriented games with systems in them. And then a lot of games have the former, I think traditional stealth games like Metal Gear Solid or something.
Yeah.
Or just games that aren't stealth games at all. A lot of shooters work like that. It's so crazy that they go so deep in both directions where everything in the level, all the people and the outfits, disguises, and the items and the weapons and all this other stuff all works together in a property-driven way that you can just combine stuff and stuff can collide with one another and you can get those failure cascades or interesting cool accidents. But then also there's all this incredibly one-off this crazy thing you can do that we've allowed for specifically.
Okay, this is not a fantastic example of what you're describing, but I have to bring it up. So in the Paris level, did you happen to see the camera crew out in front of the sort of chalet? Did you mess around with them at all?
No.
Oh my god. Well, first of all, Chris Remo, as being you have to. So there's this just camera crew, and they're just recording B-roll or whatever for their news broadcast. And I'm just listening to their sort of like, eavesdropping conversation tree, and I just happen to like walk between them, not even thinking about it, and they just go like, "Oh, geez, cut! What a jerk! Thanks, buddy. Whoa. All right, we're gonna go again. Okay, we're going again." And we're here live, and I was just like, all right, I'm doing this. And I just walked through them again. They're like, what the hell's your problem? What is this guy? What is going on? This fucking guy. And it was, oh my God, it was so good. Then they just finally gave up. And then I followed them.
Choke one of them out.
Yeah, no, I started to follow them. And then they went back to like their like broadcast van. And it was just like, oh man, this is exactly what you want from this game. You want like stupid things like that to just be like hiding in the the corners of the levels and then finding them. Yeah. And then realizing, oh, these people, I can probably like disguise myself as this guy eventually, and you can pick up his camcorder actually, and like walk around with it.
And there's right, and this exactly goes to all that bespoke stuff, because there's probably someone in that level who's waiting for the camera person who will then let you in an area because of that.
Oh, there's gonna be like, oh, finally,
yeah, exactly, yeah. Hitman levels are full of shit like that.
And then I want the Hitman guy to just say like, okay, and 3, 2, 1. You know what I mean? Like I want like the.
Well, they get a lot of mileage. Hitman games get a lot of mileage out of the like frantic person with something to do talking to you and you not responding and them just being like, oh, finally you're here. Okay, look, get out. Do you need anything? No, you're all set. Okay, great. Let's,
But what Nick's dream though is the version where you then have to be the camera guy and then the hitman goes,
the hitman just,
oh, jeez.
Yeah. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, jeez. Gotta try this again.
Stupid guys in the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the hitman.
Yeah, he is the hitman.
Yeah, the way that I play these
he's
levels,
Hitman.
I am so just this is the way I play any stealth game, or even something like Dishonored, which is a stealth game, but like certainly a different kind of stealth game. I am so like conservative and cautious. I have by the time I had finished the Paris level, I had probably dressed up as like every category of person.
God, you know what I love about that
fucking
too?
Building.
In the first training mission, like you dress up as somebody, and then your like handler or whatever comes over the radio, and she's like, "Wow, you dressed up as someone? That's very unorthodox.
That's
good
new,
for you. Wow, that's really interesting."
Yeah.
And then you dress up as another guy, and she's like, "Well, I didn't think you'd do that, but like, wow, you're really quite the hitman." And I'm like, "Well, I guess so." What? That's all you do in this game. You just missed your dress up.
Like, I mean, it's just a joke in the fact that is like the prequel. That's like 20 years earlier. So the idea
it's
is
just
like,
so funny that like.
Well, I know. I like the idea.
And I also love the stuff where they're
a training organization for assassins, like a training and contract.
Yeah.
And so you're the one who apparently introduced this like method that he will then use constantly.
God,
for
did you hear about
20 years
47? He's like dressing up as everybody. He just like takes all their clothes. What a genius! Like what?
It's his unique style.
Yeah. It's 47 style.
I like the
old 47 they call it.
The thing that suggests is that in this universe, I think that if you just play the Hitman games before that little prologue thing was released, it's like, oh, this is just in this weird exaggerated world of assassination. It's like Mission Impossible, how they all have the crazy masks.
Right, yeah.
It's like, this is just a thing that happens. People just like dress up, and it's just like how it works in this world. Nope. Turns out it's just this one guy, this one weird, bald, like super serious guy. Right. Just his deal is dressing up as people all the time.
Yeah.
And like everyone was surprised by it at first, but it's just what he does.
I think Nick's right though that the picture that it does paint is that people were like, oh wow, man. You could be a way better hitman if you just dress up as the guy. And now, like, in 2016, everyone dresses up.
Sure, that was a watershed moment in assassination.
No.
Like, people in that
legend.
school after you watch the tape of that over and over again. And like,
that's true.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
He just sort of walked into that. It came back, oh, it's that guy. I thought it was the guy. But it was turned out it was him. Everyone shaves their head now.
He just stood in that bathroom until somebody walked in, and then he stole his clothes. What a genius. All you have to do is stand in the bathroom for like a half an hour. You just let them come to you.
You get another guy's clothes from that.
Yeah.
People think you're that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just hide in the closet for a while. Why didn't I think of that? God.
I just killed everyone.
Yeah. When I finally beat the Paris mission, I got so many bonus points for like all the different like dress up as this unusual character and like do this crazy thing and like find this information, because I just like cased the place in an intense way. And I got 20,000. I don't actually know if this is a high number of bonus points or not, but I got 20,000 bonus points from all this stuff. And then I lost 20,000 bonus points for murdering 4 non-targets. and I came out exactly at 0 points. Like
that's like carbon offsets, though.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
because
it's
in
true.
this world, dressing up as people, again, is seen as, like, really elegant.
Yeah.
But murdering people as an assassin now, totally out of fashion.
yeah.
Like, why would you murder anybody?
Well, also in the
When you can dress up as them.
in the,
Assassin culture has changed.
in the Paris mission, like, I feel like this doesn't really count as a spoiler because there's so many different
No.
ways you could do this. Like, I followed the female. There are two targets in the Paris mission, a man and a woman, and I followed the woman around for so long while dressed as a sheik who was like one of the VIP guests of the thing, which is cool because she would like occasionally like have conversations with you, or like other people, you bump into someone that'd be like, hey, watch it, buddy, and then they would like notice like, oh my god,
yeah,
your highness, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which is really good. Like that stuff is so well done. It's really impressive. But I just followed her around forever, and she just never ended up in a alone, because she always has some, like both targets, like the guy has like a full-time bodyguard, and then she is just like always surrounded by just people because she's in a public, like a semi-public area. And it's a private area, but it's like there are a lot of other people in that private area. And so I eventually just like went out onto a railing, waited for her to walk to the bar, and then shot her in the head with a silenced pistol from an angle where nobody could see me.
Right.
It was so nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And then I just flipped over the railing, so I was hanging like off the side of the building from the other side of the railing, and all the security guards were like, what the fuck, where is he? And they're running around, and I'm like 12 inches away from him. But it was
They didn't have
cool.
the guard who was smart enough to look over the edge, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think they thought I was inside. I ran outside. I was like
Nice.
I was actually, I wasn't, when I shot her, I was not over the railing yet, but I dashed out. It was, I don't know, it was just
That's
really
awesome.
intense and
That's
felt
good.
really cool, and it was like a really good payoff to that thing. And then I dumped the chic clothes and dressed up as like a waiter or something. And then
Yeah.
Classic.
the guy, the other target, has a bodyguard following him all the time.
Yeah.
And I took out that bodyguard and dressed up as him. But he didn't recognize me, and he just immediately got a new bodyguard. It was really crazy. Like a guy basically just came out of the woodwork and started tailing him instead of the other guy, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I thought I was gonna totally get that guy like alone. But
Yeah, I'm sure he's just like, you're just a guy in a suit. You're not my bodyguard.
yeah,
Like, please.
yeah. But so that part was like whatever. That part happens in the game
Yeah.
all the time. Like people can recognize you.
Yeah.
But the part about
Yeah.
it actually happened
Well-
the way you'd want it to happen in life, where a totally inconspicuous guy just like came out of the crowd and was now his bodyguard. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, that was cool.
One thing I like is that those sort of like, I don't know, NPC types, I guess, like the categories of people you can dress up as, that so like if you're dressed up as a security guy, everybody else who isn't a security guy will just go like, oh, that's a security guy, but all the other security guys will see you and go like, wait, he's not in our crew.
Some of them will.
Some of them. But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
it's by category. So,
Right.
like, it's really interesting because
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
wait a
true.
minute, this guy isn't, like, on our team.
Yeah.
And I like that there's that, like...
Oh, yeah, it's
the
really well
second
done.
They realize, like, oh, you're not part of, like,
Mm-hmm.
the police force because there are only, like, 5 cops here. And, like, why would they?
The
think that you're-
overlapping, like,
Yeah.
access into certain areas.
Yeah,
The way
it's-
that, like, that not totally evenly, but, like, in a staggered way overlaps with the knowledge of the individual members of those groups is really well done.
So how does the objective thing actually work? Because the way that I play that level, I had the objectives turned off, but then I had the instinct thing still turned on just because it was so large and I just wanted to sort of get
I
through
leave
it
the
once.
instinct on, but I didn't find myself using it very much in Paris.
Well, so I used it once and it pointed me to like a guy who was like a mechanic type guy who, as it turns out, you're supposed to dress up as him and use that to
That
like
was
do
probably
a thing.
the result of one of the opportunities that you overheard.
Right. But okay, so I walked up to that guy and I was like, oh, this guy's red. I'm going to shoot him in the face. And so I shot him in the face and it was just like, mission over.
Wait, really?
Try again.
Why was it over?
Because I killed that guy and apparently I needed to do that thing.
What
and
mission was this?
This was the Paris mission. And it was really like, like maybe it was
very
because it was the
strange.
first time I played it and maybe they wanted me to do it in a specific way.
Yeah, I actually don't know why that would happen.
But it was really jarring and kind of like, oof,
I've never
I hope
encountered
that's-
that before.
Yeah, it was really strange.
And
It
I've
just
definitely killed
said restart or
non-targets.
yeah. I mean, I think it was because he was like a unique.
I know, but
special-
you shouldn't need him to be alive to do the mission. Like, I didn't
wouldn't
interact
think
with
so.
that guy at all.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, that's the thing because I'm sure there's another way to do it.
Oh, yeah, there's tons of... I mean, like, basically... I mean, there's a huge number of ways to do it. Yeah.
The first training mission, the way I completed it was just being a buffoon for like 30 minutes and not knowing what I'm doing. And then, so like I had killed, or I'd like knocked out like 3 or 4 like of the, this was the mission where you're on a boat. You're on like a ship in the harbor with the helicopter on the roof. And I had knocked out like 3 guys, had stolen their clothes, and they were just kind of hiding in like a private room. And then I started tailing the objective guy, who was just like, I guess, a businessman of some repute. And I was just following him, and he just opened the door, and it happened. He was like, let's go in the back room and talk to some other like shady business guy. And he just opens the door, and there are like 3 bodies on the ground. And he was just like, huh? And then he turns around, and I was like, oh, he's just gonna run away now or something. And he just turns and looks at me, and he's like, who are you? And I was like, what? And so I just walked into the bathroom, and he followed me in there, and he's like, who are you? And I was like, I'm here to kill you. And I just shot him in the face and then walked out, and that was how I completed it. It was like very
crazy,
very strange. It's just
pretty good.
I don't know.
That's a good.
I love that guy demanding to know who you are after seeing 3 dead guys. Like, you could put that together probably.
Except that Nick followed him into the room. The guys were already in the room when Nick walked in.
Yeah, no, he just happened upon them, but then I also happened to be like right behind him, dressed as like a ship's something, like a cook or something.
Yeah.
And he just turned and was like, wait a minute, why are you looking at me looking at these bodies? And I was like, I don't know. I gotta go to the bathroom. And I walked to the bathroom and killed him. Yeah. It was really strange. Anyway, I don't know. There are some weird quirks. It feels very much like a Hitman game where it runs really slowly on my computer, and then also
mine runs totally well.
There's some weird like.
But you got that sick rig.
Yeah.
There's some weird like frobbing issues with doors and things that have gotten me killed. And
stuff,
definite frobbing
that
issues.
That stuff can be infuriating. But
it was infuriating, but.
I was trying to
I kind of associate that with a Hitman game.
I know, but it's still annoying. Like I was trying to escape on a helicopter after the Paris mission, and there were like guards 20 feet away, and they were doing their patrol, and I'm like, oh my god, and there was the little like press G to exit, but it was one of those things where you have to be in the exact right place, looking in the exact right direction, and I'm like right next to the door of the helicopter, and I'm like go, and I'm you press forward a little bit and your guy lurches forward more than you want him to, and just that kind of thing. It's really hard in a video game. I know that because I just worked on one where we had those exact same issues. It's really difficult, but in a game like that, where it's so reflex-based, or not reflex-based, but time-based. Yep. Anyway, what do you think? So everything about the episode, we've talked a bit about a bunch of the sort of potential wins in the episodic format. Do you feel like for you that stuff is an actual real plus and you're going to avail yourself of it? Or is that like a theoretical, like, oh, it allows you to play in this like super in-depth way, but I'm not actually going to. I'm just, going to play it once or twice and then that's it. Because for me, I could see it going either way and I don't know yet.
I could probably see it going either way. I think the thing that's really odd about this game is just how difficult it is to even know what the game is.
I totally agree.
Menu, and it's not something you think about very often, menu design, but I guess when you're designing something that has all of these components,
some people think about it.
Well, yes, but I mean, you know what I'm saying though. Like, for a game like this I'm trying to think of a sort of analogous game.
Okay, well here's one for you.
Yeah.
Anno, the most recent Anno, was it Anno 22?
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Which was the most recent one?
22. I don't know. Yeah.
2205.
Yes.
Yeah. That game. The reason I think that's a good analogy or a good sort of comparison is because that is also a game with this like always on sort of they want it to feel like a platform where you're always, and it has the exact same problem with menus that this Hitman game does, where everything are these weird big blocks where it's like you're in this mode now, and I'm like, I just want you to tell me what are the parts of this game that I can play. Like I didn't.
The thing is, I would play them probably.
Yeah, me too.
If it didn't feel kind of gross.
There's a whole user creation ecosystem thing.
I had no
idea. Yeah, the menus are so strange and so like hard, unintuitive, and like they don't just tell you what is all in the game.
I felt the same way.
It feels like it's designed for like an MMO player who already knows every single nook and cranny of the entire game.
Yep.
And I didn't even know this game existed a week ago. So like,
I felt the same way about GTA 5 when I wanted to just dip into that for like a couple of hours and play the multiplayer stuff, because I had no interest in the single player, but I just wanted to kind of check out like what's the social club stuff and like what are these weird modes and things. it was really difficult to understand how any of it worked. And I kept like Googling, like, how do you like, join a game? Like, how do you do any of this stuff? And it's this weird like sub game, the multiplayer is like separate. And then you go into this thing and there are like all these menus and just weird ways of joining multiplayer games that you're just not used to. It's like very specific to that game.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you can figure it wrong, like a weird guy shows up.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like with this game, like I feel like I'll probably do like the sort of challenge mode-y stuff, like whatever they're called. But
I'd be curious to try some user missions.
Yeah.
And see if they're all just like 800 super crazy, like super perceptive guys all around you all the time. Is it that? Is it the like big game hunters like of of Hitman?
I hope so. I have no idea what this thing is. Did they release a tool that you can actually just like?
No, it means
or is
in
it
the
just
game.
sort of a configuration thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, Nick, you mean Nick? How do people author this content?
Yeah, is it just a series of kind of like chunky, swapping out things, or is it an actual like?
Everyone's fat in my version.
Big head mode.
I didn't even see it in the game until last night when I accidentally like encountered it in these menus. It's really weird.
But yeah, it is a bummer. It's got one of those sort of and I do kind of associate it with Ubisoft games at this point. That's sort of like really sluggish main menu that just feels like everything is an enormous image, but then there are like 50 of them and they're all under different tabs and you just can't make sense of any of it, and you just
And here's a problem.
To answer your question,
problem.
I wish this was a traditional Hitman game in some ways. Like, I wish it was just blood money, where it was a campaign, but then when you got through it, it just let you replay the levels, and then there were different like challenges within those levels in the way that like, I don't know, like Just Cause 3 or something, just like lets you do a thing and then creates different challenges out of that same thing.
So Hitman Absolution apparently had these user contracts too. By the way, this is actually a huge shitty thing about the fact that this game is just called Hitman. You cannot search for things about it on the internet. It is impossible. I'm searching for like Hitman user contracts and I'm getting all this shit about the game's Hitman Contracts, which was a game, and Hitman Absolution Contracts. Like, fuck off. It's really, this reboot thing is really dumb. Like, no, like what? I don't understand the point of it. I really don't. I guess they want this to feel like this is like the Hitman platform. I don't know. Jake, you and I were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, I bet part of it also is if you call it Hitman, then people don't need to worry about whether or not they played the previous Hitmans.
I know. I'm sure that's a big thing, and that's fine.
But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, they
but
probably
also Bethesda called Fallout 3.
Yep.
And 99%
Grand
of
Theft
the people
Auto
who bought
3
that
and
game,
Fallout 3 and the Elder Scrolls X.
anything, yeah.
Yeah, no one cares. People just get very concerned that people might care. I mean, people do care, but you can overcome it as evidenced by some of our biggest game franchises were not our biggest game franchises until the third or fourth ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that this
Final
is
Fantasy, anything.
Yeah, I do bet that this is an attempt at like probably part of why they're not numbering the episodes and part of why they just call it Hitman is because they're hoping that this can become the living Hitman platform. Like they probably are hoping this can be Hitman Dota, or Hitman Left 4 Dead. Like the thing Chris and I were talking about the other day was I postulated that maybe at some point if this is popular for long enough, they'll just say fuck it and put Hitman Blood Money missions inside of this Hitman the same way that Valve, like Left 4 Dead 1 was a retail product and Left 4 Dead 2 they shipped very deliberately as a platform, and at a certain point they just started backporting Left 4 Dead 1 missions into it because like, oh, our systems, the Left 4 Dead 2 systems are a superset of Left 4 Dead 1. We could just put Left 4 Dead 1 back into this.
This would definitely be a bigger deal than that. They'd probably have to just
have to remake it
all, but that would still be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect they are doing it.
Beloved missions would be like great to.
Yeah,
it was actually the first thing I thought of when I heard this was like an episodic thing. I was like, oh, surely
there's going to be Return to whatever.
There's going to be the DE Dust, mansion,
like the suburban
Hitman
level
mansion,
and like all that stuff. All those like that stuff from that was Blood Money, right?
Yeah,
That stuff was just so cool.
Yep.
And I guess I haven't played a Hitman game since Blood Money. Well, other than Hitman Go.
I think it was just the Absolution
Man,
between the
Hitman Go has Blood Money levels in it.
I know. It's really cool. It's really good.
But yeah, it just wouldn't be surprising if a like greatest hits pack from past Hitmans showed up, or whatever. Hitman in Team Fortress 2.
Right.
So
the Hitman spy pack where you just
Where you're
you're just a waiter.
one of those big missile silo maps, and there's just TF2 guys walking around. Get ready for that to appear for real.
So I think the user contracts. I'm sorry for not knowing more about this, but it is basically impossible to search for information on this. It really is. It looks like you can basically take existing content and like assign what the assassination targets are and stuff like that. And probably, they're probably.
So it is just sort of like checkboxing versus actual.
You're not like designing a level.
You're not taking NPCs and giving them paths and stuff.
Right. Well, I figured, but yeah.
It's still cool.
That's still cool because you could theoretically
like again, it just gets even more
thing,
mileage out of the geometry that they shipped. Yeah.
Yep.
Kill the entire news crew.
Well, the thing that is always great.
Interview everyone in the level.
Oh man, as the cameraman, speak to these 12 people. Capture footage.
Right.
But a thing that is always like really, really great about good Hitman level design, and like I gather Absolution was not. I gather from what I understand, Absolution was a much more linear game, and this wasn't.
I played like a couple levels of that.
I did too. I played
really
like the beginning of it, and then I stopped, so I don't really
didn't feel like a real Hitman game. Yeah.
But like good Hitman game, when you start a level, you're kind of already overwhelmed with how many, like just usually right from the beginning, it's like I can go straight up to the plate. Like it usually starts you out looking right up at the place you're going to go to, but then you can go left or you can go right. And those both already have like people to overhear and paths to go down and like weird places to sneak around. And, I remember starting the Paris level and seeing the camera crew and being like, oh man, that is like the promise of that is already really crazy. But like, I'm just going to go this other way. I didn't do anything with it, but I'm like, that already just paints a really cool picture of, what you could start to do.
The thing I'm interested to find out, because I haven't poked at the systems enough yet, but I really want to know how the kind of like triggering works in terms of those, actual like crafted little moments that sort of move the plot of the level forward. Because
I was really curious about that too.
My recollection of Blood Money is that stuff was on a real time like clock. Basically everything just moved forward and wasn't triggered by anything that you were doing. That's my recollection of it. I might be wrong.
Once you got to a certain point in the level, you could just stand still and everything would play out and you'd lose, basically.
I think the second you loaded the level up, that was true. I think there were a lot of like
I don't think you would lose, but
buffers.
you might lose on specific
opportunities. That's true. I think that's true. Yeah. I think basically there were that's right. I think you're right, because there were, now I'm thinking about like the sort of like New Orleans steamboat level. And there are like different ways to complete that, but at the end of the level, the guy always just kind of moves up into a room at the top of the ship and just stays there. But like all that stuff is moving, kind of. Everything's in motion, as I recall. And I think in this game, unless I'm like I need to play it more, but I think they're basically you're by observation you're changing it. You know what I mean? Like the second you like listen to a thing, a guy then moves, and it's a little bit. I think it's a
combination of triggered in real time, so that you trigger things that then set off really like long real time cycles, right? But because one of the things you can do, for instance, and this isn't, again, it's not really a spoiler because it's been shown a lot in trailers and like whatever. There's so many other options as well. But in the Paris level, which is a fashion show, you can dress up as this like star fashion model, and I assume like walk out onto the runway and like. Whatever, and
Hitman's like fantasy mission.
Yeah,
it's like finally all of my years
of dressing up. Now I'm on the runway.
I was near some people who were involved in the fashion show, and I was dressed up as like I think a security guy or like an event crew guy or something. And someone was like, "Huh, that guy looks just like this guy. That guy looks just like Helmut Kruger or whatever."
Right, yeah.
Like the
guy,
model.
Yeah. Who's also bald and has the high cheekbones and everything. And I found that guy, and I sort of followed him around a bit.
You could have lived your dream.
Well, I know, but I couldn't get him alone. And so, and then at a certain point, it was like,
his helmet.
At a certain point, the game just like told me, this is now over. You've lost your opportunity to do this.
Okay.
And so, and my suspicion was that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So my suspicion was, to your suspicion was that I probably did something that like started the fashion show schedule. Like I found the actual schedule of the fashion show that shows like when the people are going on. I don't know if that started when the level loaded or if that started when I like became aware of it in some way.
Or when you were identified as looking like the model, or who knows, right?
Yeah, probably not that, because I could imagine you could still do it without anyone making that observation. But that could be one of the things that.
Can you disguise yourself as a notable but hated fashion critic? That's the character that I want you to be. I want you to be the snooty shithead who everyone can't help but respect because they write amazing pieces, but it's just an acerbic piece of shit. So everyone just treats you like garbage.
Impressed.
Yeah. Just, oh, did you see here? Oh, God.
Yeah. Of course I read his latest piece.
Yeah, you're in the bathroom waiting for someone else, but you hear someone else vomit out of anxiety because you're there. And then you kill them.
Right.
Oh, man, I want that fashion critic because I want them to say something really snooty and shitty about you right before you knock them out to take their clothes.
Very creative.
Yeah. Yeah. Barcodes are in this year.
The guy just talks about how shitty helmet looks. This this is what you're wearing, and then you strangle that person.
Yeah.
Want to take a break?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Video games. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by MIT Press. MIT Press has been publishing the Playful Thinking series. These are small books about gaming that are written by people who have all different perspective on games. So people who make games, but also academics and people who think about games from different angles. There's just a bunch of different people involved in this. And I have an important note from an email. We've spent the last 2 weeks of ads for MIT Press completely in the dark about one Jesper Juul or Yule. Chris Carrick writes in, "Hey Thumbs, I'm an MIT graduate student writing my master's thesis on breaking systems, including games. So I'm going to save the rest of this email for the reader mail section, but I will fast forward to his postscript in which he writes, it's pronounced Jesper Juul, as if the J's were wise."
His actual slogan on his business card says, Jesper Juul, the J's are wise. But it's spelled W-I-S-E because he's a game academic. His name has 2 J's in it.
So,
get it? See?
Jake,
sorry, MIT Press, that I'm in this ad.
So the Jesper Juul, he is the author of a book called The Art of Failure, an essay on the pain of playing video games. And this book is essentially about how games are a very unusual entertainment medium in that in a lot of cases, what you're doing most of the time is failing again and again and again, and why we enjoy this, even though in a lot of cases it makes us frustrated or unhappy, why the experience is still on balance a positive one. That's, I think, a really interesting topic for a book. So that is one of the books in the series. There's about half a dozen. The series is called Playful Thinking from MIT Press at mitpress.com/idlethumbs. Thanks, MIT Press.
Thanks for that awesome URL.
Video games. This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Harry's.
Ooh.
Yes, Harry's sends high-quality shaving equipment directly to your door, your home office, or whatever other door with a mailing address.
Nice.
Yep. Ooh. They will send you a kit that has the razor, the shaving cream, the blades, just a nice little, very space-efficient box that they will send over. You can go to harrys.com and use the offer code THUMBS, and you will get $5 off, which will bring that kit down to $10, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's only $15 to begin with, but you can get it for only $10 with the offer code THUMBS. If you already have some Harry's equipment and you have not used the Idle Thumbs code, you can get $5 off anything else as well. If you go to harrys.com and use the promo code THUMBS, you get $5 off. The thing that is nice about the Harry's website is that their entire list of products fits on one page. Like, they just have a link that just says products. There aren't 5 different kinds of blades and razors. It's just, there's the handle, the blades, and then shaving cream, shaving gel. They have a face wash now. They have a nice little travel kit with that very nice looking, really thick stitching. That's pretty cool. The basic stuff you need for shaving, and it's just all there. You can reorder it on a like monthly basis, however you do it. Really, it's just good all around service. Harrys.com and the offer code thumbs.
That is HARRYS.
True. That is what it is.
It's like a guy named Harry, not like hair, not like a hairy guy.
No, it's Harry's, and they will make you not that. Harrys.com and the offer code thumbs.
Building a PC is not hard. The hard thing for me is like
sourcing every part,
and then like clipping the wires and like getting
that's the
fans.
That's the part that I actually like doing. The part that I don't like anymore is like which of these 15 GPUs that is the same chipset, but one of them has 3 stars and one has 5. Fucking why?
Yeah. Like that part, I don't.
I hate that.
I hate it too.
Now if I can be like, man, give me a GPU that is about the one that I want, that I'm sure it's going to be fucking fine. Good. I have good frame rate now. Hooray, ta-da.
That's the part I like. I hate fans because they like it's inevitable that one fan within a week will go. And then the idea of like,
I've never had a fan fail.
Oh, I've had so many fans fail. So many failed fans out there. Shitty fans. Lazy devs.
Video game.
Whoa, we're back. Hey.
Oh, hi, Jake.
Oh,
hey.
We're back.
Hello.
So a lot of people wrote us in about the like accidental Nazi bot that Microsoft made.
Yeah,
Tay.
Old Tay.
Tay the Nazi.
The best thing about not the best thing. It's really
nothing is the best about this. This is
that is true.
Well, that's all. It's not true
really,
at all.
I think it's really appropriate. I haven't really seen anyone comment on this, although I'm sure someone has. I just haven't read the thing about it. But it's really, I think, appropriate that Microsoft, the name for this they chose was like also Taylor Swift's nickname. Like this was clearly intended to be like your fun millennial friend who's like totally, like a goofy goofball.
Yeah, the actual tagline was like the AI with zero chill.
Yeah, right.
Did you point out that this is a Twitter bot?
Oh, sorry. Microsoft made a Twitter bot called Tay last week, and the idea of this is that as people replied to this bot, she would learn more sort of just natural language and would be able to, over time, increase her vocabulary and her ability to converse with people on the internet. So they gave her just, various sort of canned responses initially, but she was intended to like become an increasingly prolific and capable conversation bot. And then within like a day? Within
like a couple
2
of
days?
hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Within a couple hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like reading the tweets and thinking like, wow, all right.
So on the first day that this bot was released, the internet, what I assume must have been like a concerted effort, probably by places like 4chan and Reddit, I guess.
Probably.
Just like places where huge number of people congregate and can like sort of have the ability to coordinate with one another, managed to turn this robot into like a virulently racist, sexist, fascist, like hate spewer.
Well, it seemed like a shotgun blast of just that, and then like some things that were fine, and some things that were completely innocent and innocuous.
Sure,
and then,
of course, because it's the internet.
But then
so
also
it will have all things,
right.
but like trolls will
just,
ensure that
it was an
dominant
aggregate
thing,
kind of reflection of Twitter and what
well, not really, because what happens with stuff like this is part of it's the sort of harmless stuff is the aggregate, because it's just people just being like, oh, this would be funny. But usually the most terrible stuff ends up bubbling to the surface because the people who are feeding it that are doing it intentionally as a troll, and so they will go out of their way to coordinate the, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a testing the fences thing too, I think, where you look at this and you're like, Microsoft put out this bot that a bunch of people are following. Can I make it reply to me using the N-word?
Right.
Can I make it say Hitler? Oh my God, I can make it do both those things. Okay, everyone feed it as much of that as you possibly can.
That's what I'm talking
because
about.
then it will happen. I think once people find those weak points, that just becomes like
they'll exploit them for
that's
massive
like
damage.
that's the funnel that everything is squeezed into, and that's all that comes out the back end.
So the bot was created by Microsoft's Technology and Research Division. And apparently there was a version of this bot that was running in China since late 2014 that it had 40 million conversations quote unquote without major incident.
Of course there were.
But then once they unleashed the 19-year-old American
English
girl
language world,
in the English language, yeah,
it's all over.
So we have this robot that's been working perfectly. Let's put it into the culture that decapitated Hitchbot.
Yep.
Did we talked about Hitchbot, right? That that hitchhiking robot that hitchhiked like around a bunch of the world and then got to
Canada.
He hitchhiked around Canada and then got to America and its head was cut off.
in like a day too. It was like very.
Yeah, it was still in like Pennsylvania.
They crossed the border and then got like
things that seem funny but are actually really just depressing and reveal the truth about everything are these things.
Oh yeah,
like it's so bad.
Yep.
Yeah. Vice Motherboard put an article up, I think, I guess this is the 30th, so they put it up last week on the 25th called...
we should, again, remind everyone about this. This is an old recording.
This happened a few days ago, but Vice put up an article called How to Make a Bot That Isn't Racist, where it's actually a great read. They interviewed a bunch of people who actually make Twitter bots either professionally or like just are sort of like... the people who do that, like Darius Kazemi and that crew, it's a good read because these are people who have made social interacting Twitter bots that can reply back and forth or that aggregate news headlines. Or like Rob Dubbin was interviewed on this as well, who made I think like the most popular hilarious fake teenager you can talk to. It's a Twitter bot named Olivia Taters.
Oh yeah, that's a really good bot.
I don't know how Olivia Taters works, but it's like a weird absurdist responses to you kind of in the language of a teenager, but they all talk about how they've been running Twitter bots for a long ass time that don't do any of these things.
How much of that is exposure though, right? I mean,
far
more people knew about Tay within an hour than ever have seen Olivia Taters.
Yes, that is totally true, but there is like like a lot of the people who do Twitter bot stuff, and they talk about this in the article, they use word and meaning databases, and there's actually like a shared active list of phrases and of like possible word combinations that you should just null out on your bot. So there's still going to be things that happen, but like it talks about how much Microsoft looked into that and what that bot seems to filter versus what it doesn't. And there's like internal Microsoft stuff that is filtered, but not all sorts of crazy racist and sexist stuff because they just didn't seem to. It just wasn't in the consciousness of the people who made it, presumably because they hadn't. It feels like people getting so excited about doing something new that they forget that maybe other people have done it before and learned a bunch of lessons and didn't look any of it up.
It seems weird. It seems weird if that's the case, though, right? Like, I mean, I wonder.
Well, they stood on the shoulders of geniuses.
But I just mean it seems strange that they wouldn't have done that due diligence at all. Like, and maybe they didn't. But I wonder how much of it is like partially that they didn't do that, but also that they did try and take safeguards, and then all like partially
people just got over the wall, basically.
That it's just like even in the same sense that like even the most encryption, like what seems like really powerful encryption will eventually get cracked by somebody. When you just have this many people all banging on something with the explicit goal of making it terrible.
But the thing that this article says, I mean, it actually like writing about Tay gives credit to that, like to say like they probably did make a good faith effort, but it also, I mean, the counter argument to that is that robot can just literally use words that should not be permitted.
No, I mean that is true.
Like just right off the bat, you just shouldn't be allowed, and it is. So that makes you wonder, like, if you fail the test of just literally blocking certain words or phrases, what else are like? No matter how much other like high level intelligent attempts to filter things out, you fail a pretty easy test of just like not using the Twitter bot maker's shared block list for hate speech.
That's totally fair. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. It turns out that the internet can corrupt even whatever this is.
Well, this is exactly. This reminds me very much of the. We talked about this, I think, on the previous episode, right?
You guys talked about that robot face, right?
The robot face. Who at the end, the guy is like, "Will you destroy humans? Please say no." And then before he can say "Please say no," the robot's like, yes, I will destroy humans. And he's like, no, I take it back. Don't destroy humans. But like, that reminds me just of, right? Like, I mean, it's defeating the idea. And then regardless of what the...
Imagine that robot face with the AI of Tay and the charisma of Donald Trump.
God.
That's a very specific charisma.
Did you guys see...
It's apparently...
I guess
get
it's an effective one.
Get you in the running for a presidential nominee.
Did you see the... I think it was an MIT experiment, but some research group has made this software. I think I tweeted
it plants a
this and
series of advertisements on podcasts for video game books.
Maybe it was Carnegie Mellon, but it's this team of people, and they made this software that can basically face replace in real time. But then like drive,
it's really gross.
Drive like basically it's like a guy sitting in front of a camera, and then Donald Trump, and like it's just like. It's basically like Donald Trump is like the mo-capped version of the guy who's talking. So it's like perfectly taking control of this guy. And it looks
looks really good. It's still got a little bit uncanny valley, but they're so
a little
close.
Bit. It's close enough that
the best video that I've seen with that technology is someone did a sing-along to We Are the World, and they just had all of the faces of all of the celebrities queued up so they could just change their face to be any of them and sing as them. And it was very good.
Weird.
It was really creepy.
Yeah.
But also really enjoyable and also really bad.
But what's the point of that? Were they changing the words or something, or what's the reason for just having them do the same thing as they were already doing?
I mean, it was a person acting all of the singers. Like it was a lip sync video, but they were face replacing all of the different like celebrity faces who sing solos in We Are the World.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I think it was a split screen where you saw the guys, or no, you just saw his webcam at the beginning.
Okay, so what we need now is we need people to combine this with that like acapella app that's been really popular, where people can like post their 6 faces to Twitter or Facebook or whatever. It's
but
like,
they could just all be.
But they're just all like
Donald Trump,
Putin or whatever.
Yeah. They're all world leaders.
This is going to be okay. So here's another interesting overlap. All of the Nintendo NX like prototype stuff that has been, I think, debunked by now.
The people who made it debunked it.
Right. Okay.
All that stuff was just. Oh, so the NX stuff. I don't know if you want to explain what this is.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
NX is Nintendo announced we have new hardware that's after the Wii U. It's called the NX. And they haven't said anything else beyond that, but a couple patents for other Nintendo things have come up, including one that looked like a gamepad that had a weird, like oblong, like squished football-shaped video screen in it that had 2 controllers coming out of it. And people put up mock-ups. Well, not mock-ups. People put out what purported to be leaked cell phone snaps of people's NX prototypes, and they were fucking weird looking. It was like a mirrored surface LCD display that had 2 analog sticks coming out of it, and it was shaped like a football, basically. It was fucking weird looking. And then another screenshot came out that was an even more convincing one. People were like, oh, this is real. And then it turned out one of them was a guy who was really good at 3D modeling, and he 3D modeled an NX into a photo. And then someone else who suspected that it was fake and who also had a product fabrication hardware available to them just made a mock, like a real version of that guy's mock-up, and then took more photos of it, and they both looked equally convincing, but one was
and then
someone made video.
Had video that made it look as though Zelda, whichever, Twilight Princess or whatever it is,
I think it's the new one. It's the unnamed new Zelda.
Okay, was running on the like touch screen.
That one admitted to be a mock-up, though. That one was just like they distorted the perspective off of the render to make it look like a good view, and said, "Here, maybe this is how the UI on this is gonna work."
Right.
Yeah.
But like the combination of the ability of like having in sort of just consumer available 3D printing, and then also having all of this crazy like video reconstruction of people means that like hoaxes are. I mean, the line to determine what is a hoax and what is legitimate, like pretty soon is going to reach a level where it's going to become really hard.
The moment that Major League or the NFL games started to draw the downline on
under
the screen,
the players,
live video, and then also started swapping out the ads on the sides of soccer games in real time. When I saw all that stuff happening on broadcast TV, I was like, okay, in 10 years, that's just going to be inside your iMac. Like, you're just going to, whatever one you buy, you could just press a button and the internet gives you a webcam that then you can just
do all this shit yourself.
Set a thing next to you on a desk that isn't real and then move your camera around and it'll just work.
Yeah.
If we're not there now, we will be there the moment consumer VR and AR headsets come out, because then motion tracking cameras are just going to be inside your house all the time that have like full 6-point tracking and also a camera. Like your Vive camera will just let you hoax the shit out of everything forever, because it is built literally to let you put a 3D object into a world that you then have a camera that is tracking it, so you can pretend. So you can
on the other hand, like 3D like stupid GIFs people make where they like put a funny face onto a thing. That stuff's going to become even more amazing.
Really good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's weird. Anyway.
Dick, were you going to say?
No. It's good stuff.
Yep. So anyway, weird world. You guys want to do some reader mail here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Robot news concluded. That was robot news, I guess.
Oh, right. It was robot news. We didn't acknowledge that it was robot news, but it was.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. All right. So I guess we have the email I should probably read the remainder of the email from the MIT person, who's Chris Carrick, who writes, "Hey Thumbs, I'm an MIT graduate student writing my master's thesis on breaking systems, including games. Like Steve mentioned on the cast, games can be hugely locked down or black boxes, and my goal in my thesis is to make the case for breaking games as an important practice for individual players, to better understand the systems they interact with. It's still early days, but I've been doing some art for the project. My Katamari Damacy breaking, which I called Katamari Dreams," and he has a link to this. But he says, "The page may not load all the way. In case it doesn't, it's a huge gallery of screenshots and GIFs of different breaking in the original Katamari Damacy. This was done on an emulated copy of the game using a memory editor to change values during play. Most of these were created by switching which level was being loaded as the game was attempting to load the levels. I'll eventually argue that this breaking of the game has given me an insight in how Katamari Damacy treats its levels, object placement, animation routines, etc. on a design level without ever truly lifting the curtain on the black box. Breaking stuff was what my whole graduate education's about, so I was really happy to hear about it on the cast. Chris." Then P.S. he has the thing about Jesper Juul. That is interesting. I don't ever do stuff like this. I guess we talked about that, 2 weeks ago maybe?
Yeah. People who do that stuff I always find really impressive, but like basically my tinkering of that type stopped when I did not have a game genie anymore, basically.
Right. So here's an email related to this, since we probably don't have a lot to say on the topic. Sora Thompson writes, "I heard you talking about trainers on the last Idle Thumbs," so 2 weeks ago, I guess, "and wanted to chime in and say that both trainers and, let's call them the evolved version of them, is still very much around.
Evolved.
The first is just the hacks used in online games like Counter-Strike, aimbots, and such like that. But the second is more interesting. Game-playing bots are actually big business, automated bot entities that farm for you whatever resource you want and sell for money. World of Warcraft bots were particularly popular for a while, farming gold, etc., for the spammy gold sellers in the game without the need for any person to actually play the game itself."
There's a lot of good language in this.
Yeah, spammy gold sellers.
Spammy gold sellers. Yeah.
Spammy gold seller. That's definitely an old-timey guy.
That's one of those spammy gold sellers.
I myself briefly entertained the idea of making a Dota 2 bot to play the game and farm for items I could later sell on Valve's own marketplace after I encountered a chat spam bot playing the game in a match. It was playing badly, as in probably the game's own bot AI just rigged up to play, while spamming links for a Tom Clancy game that had released recently. What?
What?
I hope Ubisoft fucking released this bot into Dota 2.
Oh, man.
Where are all the players on Steam? They're playing Dota 2, sir.
Yeah.
We think we can inject a chat bot that tells them to play The Division.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Man, I love this. I love this bot. I love that there's a bot in here beating me at Dota.
I should go play that.
He's telling me to play The Division. I guess I should go do it. I love this guy. I love this guy. Yeah.
What a great bot.
Thanks, chatbot.
I don't know. How
Someone
many
should write a hat bot. That is what actually needs to be written. They need to just generate 1,000 codes for Division hats, and then it goes in. But that thing would turn into a Nazi so fucking fast. It would somehow be giving out Mein Kampf Dota items that it's somehow approved through Greenlight or through the marketplace.
So the reader continues, I don't know how many people were convinced by a useless teammate ruining their game and spamming links to play a different game when they were already playing a game, but it happened nonetheless. Regardless, these sorts of things evolved out of the same cheating trainer programs of yesteryear and today, since both are called bots regardless of how much of the game they actually play for you. I guess I'm not building to a point, so I'll just end this email awkwardly by saying it's at an end. That's how we end this podcast, so I guess that's appropriate.
That's fair.
That email was written by a bot. Our podcast is hosted by bots, so
True.
That email was not written by a bot because it had all sorts of good phrases in it.
That's true. Yes.
Which bots we know don't have good phrases.
Rarely. So Jeffrey Southers writes, Hey Thumbs, I'm Jeff, a longtime listener and one of the devs on a game called Sumer. Sumer was showing at the Indie Mega Booth during GDC last week, and I had Chris play around. Chris, thanks for playing and providing feedback. And then he has a link to the build on itch.io. They have an itch.io page. The game called Sumer, Sumer. So
like Sumeria?
Yeah. So he says, they're going to do a Kickstarter, etc. You have a great podcast and excellent network. Thanks for the wonderful hours of game criticism and thought. All the best, Jeff. So I mainly read that email because it reminds me to actually talk about this game that I played called Sumer, which is a really unusual and interesting game concept. Nick, I would actually be interested to play this game with you. Jake, you might like it as well. It's kind of like it's an attempt to translate a board game into a video game environment, but not by just literally transposing it in the way that like the Xbox Live Arcade version of Settlers of Catan is or something. It actually makes use of things that are part of video games, like real-time competition and stuff like that. But all the rules and underpinnings have this sort of resource-driven, like turn-based scoring that a certain kind of, resource gathering board game has. It's been too long since I've been into that kind of video game. We went through a period of a couple years where we played a bunch of those, but it's been a while now, so I can't remember. But the most obvious example that a lot of people know is Settlers of Catan, where you have to collect resources and you can do things with them, and then eventually you're scored. And this game has elements like that, but I'm sure it's drawn from other board games whose names I either don't know or can't remember right now. But it's very, very odd. I mean, it's a really interesting concept, the way you have to split your brain between thinking about these long-term, do I go after this kind of resource or do I go after that kind of resource? And there are trade-offs for both. And what strategy are the other people who I'm playing against using, and how do I try and take that into account? But then also there are components of it that it's literally the first person to run to this thing and grab this resource for the turn gets it. Or there are some things that are scored based on who did it first and who did it last and so on. And it's just such a unique concept. It was hard for me to really get my head around after only playing the tutorial and then part of the tutorial and then one game's worth, because also like a board game, you kind of have to sacrifice your first playthrough. You basically have to sacrifice that to just the rules of okay, now I get what all the different components are.
Right.
And this has that as well. But it's really cool. It's just a very unusual, clever idea. And by the time I was done with it, I wanted to play more of it.
Nice.
So I wanted to just make sure I talked about it. So it's called,
sounds cool.
Yeah, it's called Sumer, Sumer. And I guess they have an itch.io page.
Did you end up playing Off-World Trading Company?
No, not very much.
I played it.
I'm sure that game is incredibly different.
Did you ever talk about it on the podcast, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple times.
I know Jake did.
I'm sure that game's going to come back around. It's been in even pre-early access, just entirely pre-order alpha and beta for a while, but I would love to check back in on that game when it comes out. I only mentioned it because it seems like the configuration is very, very different, but that is a game that activates my board game brain and real-time brain at the same time in a way that
this is much more literal than that. It looks like a board game board.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a good comparison. Yeah. So that was a cool thing. I was just wandering around the indie mega booth at GDC, and this guy grabbed me and said, "Play my game." So I did. Cool. David Siegel writes, "Hey there, Thumbs. Long time, first time. A few weeks ago, I was walking to the bus on my way home from work when you began discussing Doug Doug. A little background. In June of last year, I released my first full game, full meaning not just a jam game, called Doug, the Endless Digger. It is, as it says, an endless digger. The player can only dig left or right and tries to dig down as far as they can while avoiding rocks and bombs and collecting gold for points. There are light physics interactions inspired by Spelunky. Rocks detonate bombs, explosions throw rocks, etc. I missed the part where you said the name of the game you were discussing, so it sounded like you were discussing my game. I was incredulous, as I have maybe a few dozen users on that game, but at the same I was excited. Why would Remo be discussing my game? How would he have found it? I thought. I was really excited for a moment, as anyone would be having a small project talked about on one of their favorite casts. As you went into more detail, I had the following realizations in this order. 1. Wait, these are some features not in my game. This must be a similar project to my game. 2. This sounds more polished than my game. Shit. 3. They used the same stupid pun that I did. I'm the worst. Basically, I went from being all proud to doing the Charlie Brown sulking walk all the way to the bus.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Anyway, I've gotten over it, but I thought I'd share. My game is still available on the Google Play Store if you're interested in giving it a look. Thanks for being awesome and also reminding me that my ideas are worthless. Dave.
No.
Man, I'm sorry about
games.
Video games.
Yeah. Oh, someone had the same idea as you and
found
released
them.
their game like 3 days before you. Games. Like,
especially with mobile. You know,
oh,
things
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
Jesse Oak writes in with some supplementary robot news that I don't think we've mentioned, or I wasn't aware of this. He says, apparently Domino's now has a pizza delivery robot in Australia.
Oh.
Were you guys
I am a
aware of
fan
this?
of their chatbot that when you order their pizza, there's like a weird, there's a whole thing where
Oh, you're talking about the little website
the
with
guy
the little
like talks to you,
Yeah,
and there's
everything.
like, yeah.
It is the DRU, Domino's Robotic Unit, an autonomous delivery vehicle built in collaboration with a technology startup Marathon Targets, filled with thousands of dollars worth of military robotics technology, converted to deliver fresh pizza to the residents of Queensland.
Well, this just means that Google selling Boston Dynamics, they just need to sell those robots to Domino's, so that a weird bee like camel can just deliver your pizza.
The
Like,
cyber world future would hit so much harder and so much faster if that military grade robotics company just immediately got privatized, but not the private military, to just fucking private brand companies where it's like Taco Bell.
Yeah.
So the thing that the reason
Hold on.
Okay.
I need to like the fact. If no one comment on the fact that Nick tossed out a description of a big dog as a bee camel.
So robot racism is already here. And
No,
it's
that's
like,
the thing.
That fucking bee gets
bee
fucking
camel.
bee camel taking my job.
That's fine.
Jesus.
That's fine. I mean, that thing's just going to be driven by Taybot, so it's just going to learn that and then repeat it to other people.
Oh man.
He'll be racist to his other robot friends. Like, just,
Only robots
or the
can call
person-
other robots bee camels.
right, yeah.
Or the person who opens the door. So this thing has a code, like a mobile generated code that you have to input in order for it to release
get your
the pizza.
pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can't just like accost it.
So
on the
that like
street.
the wasteland, like Mad Max mobs can't tear this thing open and get the pizza out of it. They can only tear the other parts of it apart to get the military grade technology that it's stuffed with.
This is
which is a regular car. You can just get inside the bottom of a car.
it does look like something just straight out of like a Fallout game, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
just
does.
like a
It totally
weird,
looks like a
like,
50s,
it's that chunky
like
50s,
swoopy
like,
white
yeah.
vision of the future.
Right, you would open that and there would still be like a rotten pizza inside, and then like a note from the pizza man.
So-
These are my last words.
Nick, so
I'm hiding out in here. I don't know how long I can
military is
last.
just dumping all their tech into like Australian military tech into a Domino's pizza robot. You're proposing that Google dumps all of their Atlas Boston Dynamics shit into just this stuff. That's because all of this stuff is already outdated, because what a pizza should be delivered by is a drone. Like this stupid car, what a
true.
waste. Using that for a pizza?
It's way more hilarious though. This little thing trundling around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's way more hilarious. But I mean, maybe they just realized we could just have a quadcopter with a gun on it, and we don't need this robot.
But think about the like auditory like Pavlovian thing that would
not
occur.
auditory, the smell. It emits the odor like the fajitas.
Right.
On the like sizzling
But
skillet.
it's like the ice cream truck and the
It
fajita
goes-
truck.
yeah, it goes
it's like a
down the
combination
street,
where you've got
making
like
you smell the pizza.
oh, it's the sound of the pizza man. Oh.
It just makes you smell hot, delicious pizza and then you're like, oh, there's pizza. And I place your
Right.
order, and
all
then
those
it,
high-powered fans
it's
that are
got a
built into the
pizza
big
oven
dog
in it,
just
so it
shoot.
can just stop off at your house on the way to where it's going immediately,
Right.
and give you.
Oh, man. Pizza robots in your area.
Yeah.
Like
It's
like lift line
it's
or
like
something.
lift line, yeah, where it tries to like generate the most optimum route.
To 1, deliver pizza to the first target. 2, make it available to more people. And 3, blanket as many neighborhoods as possible in the smell of fresh baking dough and
Right.
tomato sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
4,
Yeah, we don't
execute optional targets from the military.
I was gonna say 4. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's like on level 4 of the Hitman Escalation mission.
I was just
where
gonna
it's
say,
gonna
well,
deliver
it's-
6 pizzas and
Right.
kill 2 other assassins in the neighborhood. Or
just-
kill 2 other delivery robots.
Delivery companies.
Rival
Like,
robots.
people
yeah.
are really noticing that Taco Bell smell from that, like...
And it just becomes like
This is
robot
where the-
wars,
yeah, this is
like
where
just on the
postal-
streets
this
of
is
San
how it
Francisco.
ends up becoming a military thing by default. Is that these like delivery food companies?
This is
just
our corporate-
become
our corporate
the new-
military future.
Right, they're eventually you're allied with like one of the. I'm with Chipotle, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, sorry. There's like the Domino's Pizza versus Taco Bell like wars. Once laser guns show up and the Domino's one shoots red and blue lasers, the Taco Bell one shoot green and orange lasers. We're fucking in it. We're in Terminator, but all those robots are actually ostensibly crushing human skulls to get a pizza to some
Right.
guy real fast.
To a
Yeah.
dead guy.
Yeah, to a guy that's already dead because the Taco Bell robot killed
Yeah.
him. It was like, oh, you order a Pizza Hut or whatever, Domino's?
Right. They're just
Sorry, Pizza Hut. Whoa. We're all Domino's Pizza here, people.
Right.
Sorry. No.
the sad little bot just standing in front of the door.
So
Enter code. Enter
Hut-
code. And
Pizza
there's just
Hut
a
went out of
dead man on
business
the
5
ground
years
just like
ago.
for hundreds of years. Enter
Yeah,
code.
his eyes just
Yeah.
zotted out.
Yeah.
yeah, that is the actual cyber future that is all like dark Terminator shit and like Snow Crash stuff combines when Domino's Pizza has a military robot that delivers pizza that
'Cause this
also just
uses
murders
everything.
people.
This
Yeah.
uses all of the like ad targeting demographic information that's been harvested about you over the years. Like all of the like different arms of our terrible future can collide.
When that weird modernist Domino's pizza tube kills a guy.
Yep.
What if that thing runs someone over and it's like a tragedy, but then you realize that it was actually a known like terrorist target? Where it's like that guy was just walking across the street in a house where he lived, and then that the Pizza Hut or the Domino's robot killed him. And
Like, what a strange
it was a
coincidence.
tragedy.
What a
Like we have to
strange-
regulate autonomous vehicles, and then that regulation just is immediately silenced,
Right.
Because that guy was actually a military hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Get ready.
Yep.
And then the blue and red lasers come flying out.
All right. Well, I guess that was robot news again.
I
Yeah.
really now want someone to take the stupid Terminator battle sequences and do all of the motion matching
yeah.
bullshit
All
we were
the
talking
stuff
about,
we're talking
and just put stupid
Right.
like cloth simmed Taco Bell banners flying off of those robots and stuff. Give them pizza, give them Domino's paint jobs.
Yeah.
And the guy,
Right before the robots burst
No.
into the base, you just hear the doorbell ding, and the guy walks up like he's gonna get his pizza. Then the door rips open, and they're all just killed by a bunch of chrome
Well, no, like
robots.
that. The scene where the Terminator comes in and actually like infiltrates.
Yeah.
he's carrying like a
He's gotta
Taco
be-
Bell bag, but then when he comes in, it's like he's got a pizza under his arm, and everyone's like, "No, we ordered."
Fucking tricked.
Yeah,
Yeah. Then around the corner, there's
Dogs can smell it. Dogs are
yes,
trained.
the dogs,
they're
that's right,
trained to
trained to
smell
smell it.
if the
Taco
pizza
Bell
guy
or
or the
pizza, yeah.
Pizza Hut, and they know which team it is.
Around the corner, there's like the mangled corpse of a Taco Bell robot that all of its branding has been stripped off.
Right.
All the livery has been like stripped off.
yeah.
Because they also learned a lot from Hitman.
Right.
Turns out
Oh, very creative.
we have to invent an odorless fast food delivery robot that looks like a person.
Or just looks like Atlas.
Yeah.
Or just looks like that weird face
Looks like
robot.
that face
Yeah,
robot.
right, yeah, the-
yeah.
And just put that on Atlas.
Like
Gross.
that thing just. I would kill all humans. Oh, that's fine. That's just one of those face robots. It's not. It's not.
doesn't actually-
It's not a food delivery military
yeah.
machine.
That's what you gotta look out for.
Don't order a fucking pizza. Live off water and the amusing ramblings of this face robot.
All right. Well,
Is that the end of everything?
I think that's the end of
that's
everything.
probably the end of everything. Certainly
Yeah.
us.
Yep.
That's the end of this video games podcast.
Yep. And all the other podcasts,
True.
really, eventually.
Yeah.
Speaking of all the other podcasts, we've got a lot of great shows at idlethumbs.net, including the recently launched
Domino's Pizza Podcast.
the recently launched.
We love Domino's.
We love Domino's Pizza.
But not Taco Bell.
Not Taco Bell. No, the recently launched Playscape Los Angeles.
Yep, hosted by Teddy Deef, one of the developers of Hyperlight Drifter. This is a show where every week, or actually twice a week, which is a crazy
He's going
thing.
crazy.
Yeah. Twice a week, he shares an update with what's going on with his game, Hyperlight Drifter, and then also then after that, the bulk of the episode is an interview with someone from the LA game scene, whether they're developers or some other person who kind of works in around that like whole community.
Like press, YouTube personalities, voice acting,
Yep.
all sorts of people.
So the first episode is up with Ashley Birch. Actually, by the time you hear this, the second episode will also be up. I'm not sure who it is yet because he has a few different interviews recorded, and I'm not sure which one he's using as the second. But it's a really cool project, and you can find it at idlethumbs.net/playscape. And by the time it's a limited run series, as you might imagine. And by the time he's done, like our hope is that it creates a really cool and diverse picture of the community of Los Angeles game people. Also, something we are not ourselves involved in, but seems cool. There's a new project from Feminist Frequency. You may remember Anita Sarkeesian of Feminist Frequency was a guest on this podcast about 2 years ago, I think. She is doing a new project called Ordinary Women, a video series about like really interesting women figures from throughout history whose stories should probably be better known than they are. That project, I think, could use some help with funding right now. I actually wasn't even aware of this until a few days ago because it's being funded on sort of like I think a newer crowdfunding website. But if you search for Ordinary Women video series, you will definitely find it. And I'm sure that they would be extremely appreciative of any help.
So check that out.
Yep.
Oh, what's next in the book club?
What's next in the book club? That'll probably be about a week from now is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng.
So read fast.
Yeah, this book is actually totally like you can get through it pretty fast. It's not that long, and it's like it's about a crime. It's like a sort of page turner kind of thing. It's good so far. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm in the middle of it now. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. You can find the Idle Book Club also at idlethumbs.net/shows. It's up there. And if you would like to send us email, you can do so at questions@idlethumbs.net. We've been getting some good email recently, as you can tell by the fact that we read some good email on today's podcast.
You can tell by that pizza robot.
We're on Twitter at idlethumbs. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/idlethumbs. And thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Tell a friend. Bye.
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 Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The more I take BART, the more I discover that there's just weird shit. This is one that I have not seen, but Jim Crawford posted. And it's just a sign that just says special. And it doesn't say anything about where it's going or what it's doing.
You can board it. It doesn't say that
Yeah, special 6-card board center. And you're like, well, I guess I'll get on this special train. But yeah, occasionally there's just weird labels that feel like total inside BART language, and people get on or off those trains, and I'm like, I don't think okay, whatever you are, just go away.
Zingle dingle dingle.
More tinkles. Oh, tingle. Oh, a tingle.